So those are the three methods that you can use to kind of create a framework if you're feeling a little stumped. One thing I want to mention just at this early stage is that in this class I'm going to go over a lot of methods like this, and again, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best or the only way. So, for example, storyboarding and some of the other aspects of planning a story, there's plenty of people who go about it all differently, starting without a plan at all. Examples like Sophie Coco Gate and many other experimental animators out there. But I do want you to start asking this question of how can you get the stories themselves to matter. Everything we just did is a simple exercise in getting an idea, but does it mean that it's the idea you really want to commit to for a whole semester? Probably not. I went to a panel once with Sawako Kobuki, and by the way, if you do check out her work, a lot of content warnings there. And this is a woman who's kind of famous in the animation field for creating kind of shocking content. And people asked her if, she was a feminist based on being this woman who creates this kind of provocative filmmaking. Her answer was an absolute no, that she just makes what she likes. And I think it's a good reminder that even when you have something you don't think is weighty or has a deep meaning, even just making what you like sometimes will affect people that way. And that is why we're going to start with caring and take it all the way back to what we looked at the beginning, Key and Peele. So, with their escalating humor, Jordan Peele was able to take what he learned on Key and Peele a few years back and apply it to a whole new slew of films, including Get Out, Us, and upcoming films in the future. And these newer block of films of Jordan Peele's draw from that same kind of ability to see reality as malleable and to really create escalating tension instead of, let's say, comedy. However, now, this time around, he's talking about some pretty big issues in our community and our society as a whole, globally. And so I think it's a really good example of how honing in on what matters to you and what story you want to tell can use those same skills for potentially even a broader effect. But I have to ask you to do one or two things first. The first thing I have to ask you to do is to ask deep questions of yourself and let go of the things that you do just to look cool, in storytelling at least. So you're not going to write films that are just about creating lots of explosions just for the sake of it. Doesn't mean that that might not show up in your work, but how can you make it make sense and be part of a real story? And the same thing goes for cuteness. Cuteness is fine, it's good, it's just like the badass thing. All that stuff is great in the right context, but you have to earn it. You have to own it and earn it in your films instead of just inserting it because that's the stuff you like. So all of this is about really understanding why. What are you using cuteness for that makes your film better, that cuts closer to those things you care about? And I just want to read this little quote from Sister Karita Kent talking about her mentor, Charles Eames, this furniture creator. And this is from one of my favorite books, Learning by Heart. Really cheesy looking cover, but kind of a radical text. According to her, she said, Charles Eames said that the first step in designing a lamp, or anything, even a film, was not to ask how it should look, but whether it should even be. He always started fresh at the beginning. He showed us how to develop principles rather than follow formulas. Okay? So we're going to get towards that question of what do you think should be? What matters to you? And because of that, I'm going to have you complete a letter to me. And so this is your first big assignment for the class. And it should be about a page long, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. And I want you to describe the things you're passionate about. And the only thing you can't write about is art, drawing, anime, filmmaking, anything that's related to the content of what we're actually making in this class as a whole. In part because I'm just going to assume that you already like those things because you're here. And also because that will be in the project already, because it is an animation, it is a film, it is something that's going to require drawing or modeling or whatever. But also because what we're going to do is you're going to look through this letter and you're going to identify a few things. And that's what you're going to write your film about. And it's going to be up to you to identify those things. So what are some examples of what might be in this? Well, you might talk about something that really upsets you even, because passion isn't just only directed towards the positive. You might say, I really hate it when I see people wrongly accused of a crime. Or you might say, I am really passionate about getting the best butternut squash when I go to the store to buy squash. And honestly, either of those things could become really great films, really great viewpoints into your world. But I need to first know what it is you care about and why. Okay? And the other homework is just to read 3 Uses of the Knife, which is just a fantastic text, and I hope you enjoy it.